Hello, and welcome to the Authentic Creative, expanding our capacity to feel good. I am absolutely delighted because I have Dr. Stephen Farmer here, and I'm just going to very quickly read his bio and then jump right in. So, Dr. Stephen Farmer is a licensed psychotherapist, shamanic practitioner, hypnotherapist with certification in EMDR and somatic experiencing, and author of several best-selling books and oracle cards, including Animal Spirit Guides, Healing Ancestral Karma, and the recently released Messages from the Ancestors Oracle cards and Messages from the Spirits of Nature. Dr. Farmer offers individual consultations and a popular private mentoring program and serves on the board of the Society of Shamanic Practice. For more information, you can go to drstephenfarmer.com, and you can also find him on Facebook, Dr. Stephen Farmer. I was just commenting that I love your t-shirt. It says, for those of you who can't see, it says Pink Floyd, and it's got the prism and the rainbow. Super
Yeah,
cool. And he was talking about being a child of the 60s.
yeah. I just, this is the one I happened to pick, not totally intentional, but it's one of my favorites because I have two bands that go back a ways because
Rolling Stones is one of them.
how did you know? You're so psychic. Yes.
Because
Absolutely, the Stones, and they're just like all over the place now. You
I
know,
was going to ask you about your love affair with Rolling Stones, because I love
oh,
Rolling Stones too.
oh, good. High five. Across the waves. Well, Pink Floyd, I saw again back in the 60s, and it was a very active, tumultuous time, a lot of changes, as people that especially were around or you've read history, it was the Vietnam War,
Hmm.
protests, everything, Kent State, just
Hmm.
so much going on that was such activity that was just birthed during that particular era. And out of that, one aspect of that was a few bands, really, but particularly the Rolling Stones, as you mentioned, Siri.
Yeah.
Um, I saw them at the Hollywood Bowl.
I
I,
love the Hollywood Bowl.
the Hollywood Bowl is a great venue.
The best.
1964. Did I, they came out with Satisfaction, I think, or something like that. And I happened to score some tickets and I was absolutely blown away.
Amazing.
Jumping around like a monkey. And what is he doing now at 80 years old? He's jumping around like a monkey.
Which is also amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, oh my goodness. And
And
so, are there other musicians? I'm just curious because we're talking about this from the 60s that you're in love with?
well, again, Pink Floyd,
Yes,
obviously, I saw them, I confess that it was a period of experimentation with psychedelics and such.
which I love.
I indulged. I confess, I indulged. It was both crazy and also very enlightening. You know,
Right.
I think Aldous Huxley talked about it was the doorways to perception, the doorways that would open to a different kind of perception. We didn't know what to do with it then. You know,
Right, right.
it
Yeah.
was like, oh, let's go take some acid and see the walls wiggle.
Yeah, like drop
Like,
in, drop
yeah,
out.
yeah, stuff like that. Tim Leary, was around.
Yes.
So I lived during that era, and I saw Pink Floyd, oh gosh, early in their career, their work, and again, I was under the influence at the time, and I literally could not talk when I walked out of there because they were totally psychedelic music at that time.
Mm.
Now they've evolved, to have some incredible songs and a little backstory is about Sid Barrett, who was the one of the initial members
Hmm.
of Pink Floyd. And somewhere along the line, I saw an old black and white video of one of their earliest recordings, "A Saucer Full of Secrets." It gives you a little hint. And what happened is Sid Barrett is there staring at the camera, motionless. He is like totally catatonic,
Hmm.
maybe on something called
Hmm.
acid.
Okay.
He's totally catatonic. So the band had to pick up his part
Oh,
and
wow.
they were playing. And later he went into a mental institute, a psychiatric hospital. because yeah, he flipped out, and
Yeah.
quite a few people did. They flipped out.
And that's why psychedelics have gotten a bad rap, partially.
Yes.
But now research is starting to come out
Oh,
again, right? And we've got these documentaries now, and we've got some research coming out now where we're actually starting to reintroduce into the mainstream. Because I heard your episode interviewing that woman in Portland that is
oh, Katie B.
facilitating
Yeah.
psilocybin journeys, which
Yeah.
I find so fascinating. I've had 6 psilocybin journeys, and each one completely different and each one life changing. And I am not a person who's done drugs. Like, not really.
And it's not a drug.
Yeah, it's medicine.
Yes, it's plant when it's treated appropriately too. It's definitely plant medicine, as you can attest to from your experiences. Yeah, Katie, I knew her from the Society of Shamanic Practice. She was on the board, and then she's withdrawn from the board and has taken up doing psilocybin sessions. Uh, and oh gosh, MDMA, which is I don't know if it's technically a plant medicine, but it's also been something that's been very useful when
Yes, like the heart opener that kind of is
yeah,
some
so
people use as like the gateway to the
yeah,
psilocybin
yeah.
journey. Okay, I actually have questions prepared for you that I
Okay.
want to make sure that I talk to you about. So, you talk about in your podcast these, I know this was a minute ago, but you talked about the 4 questions when you seek a shaman's help.
Oh, yeah.
You said, and these are beautiful, that the shaman will ask you, when did you stop singing? When did you stop dancing? When did you stop being enchanted by stories? And when did you stop listening to the sweet sound of silence?
Yeah.
I love those questions
They're
because I
great.
think every one of them is how our soul wants to be living. Yeah.
Yeah. Another sort of a sidelight that's interesting about this, your question is about an hour and a half ago, out of the blue, because I've stalled a bit on doing podcasts for a number of reasons. I want to get
Hmm.
really being prompted by my guides to get back into it as soon as possible. So, yeah, stay tuned. But what's
Yes.
interesting about your question, Siri, is that about an hour and a half ago, not even thinking about our show and doing this, I went, let's see, what were those 4 questions? Swear to God.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So I'm actually thankful I reviewed them too, because I wanted to make sure I remembered them. But they're easy to remember. That's what I love about fours. I
Yeah.
like to put things in fours because people can remember things in fours, 4 steps to, 4 ways to, etc. It's just simpler rather than 21 ways to improve your vocabulary or something like that. No, give me 4,
Yes.
3 or
Yes,
maybe
because when you're dysregulated, it's hard to grasp for more than even one sometimes, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I must say, Sari, too, I want to give credit to one of my teacher mentors from years ago, Angeles Arian. God bless her. She is ancestor now. Angeles Arian was an anthropologist who was born in the Basque region between Spain and Portugal.
Hmm.
I guess it's a region, but it's never been conquered, you
Okay.
know, either Spain or Portugal or any other. And so the information I have about the Basque people also through Angelus is, very deeply uh, grounded spirituality. And so she's a wonderful teacher in many ways. She wrote a book called The Four, Four, Fourfold Way. Maybe that's where I got it. I don't know. And worked with Thoreau and such like that. Anyway, this is one of her teachings when she's traveled around to different indigenous peoples. She's sort of synthesized and said what were some commonalities in the shamanism that was practiced
Oh,
in
got
that
it.
particular community. And that's where she derived, amongst other things, but she derived these four basic questions that a shaman
Mm-hmm.
asks you. And they make so much common sense too.
Mm-hmm.
And I noted earlier, I noted that when I was thinking about this, I did a little checklist and I said, yeah, was I singing? Yeah, just last night. I play guitar and sing. I've written some songs, original songs, etc. And then I don't do this very often, but I was out in the kitchen with my dog and I just, there was music on. So I started dancing and I haven't done that for a while.
I love
See,
it.
I love this kind of synchronicity, that occurs, this weaving. I call it the weaving, like what were those four questions? And then I come on and you say, you had something about these four questions. I say, okay, singing, dancing, etc. And I'm out there dancing, and just doing a boogie. I don't know. I like,
Yes,
I
because you're
love
so
it.
connected. You're so
Yeah.
connected. And so I want to ask you, in terms of your being connected and finding these synchronicities as you do, and you've been doing this for so long, you have a morning routine. Has your morning routine changed recently? Is it still the same? And what do you do in the morning that puts you in this flow, in this connection, in this embodied state?
Lots of coffee. Um, Good. I
Uh-huh.
made you laugh. I made you laugh. No, I do. I have my first cup of coffee. Typically, not every morning, I must confess. I'd say probably 90% of the time. Uh, I take care of the dog, and feed him, etc., let him go outside, blah, blah, blah. That's part of the routine with my puppy dog, Scout.
Okay, what kind
Hey,
of puppy is it?
Scout, what kind of puppy are you? Everybody says he looks like a Weimaraner, but he's a silver lab, about almost 4 years old. He's coming up on
Oh,
4 years.
love it.
And oh, I got stories with him too. But anyway,
Okay, it's a different topic. Yes.
I told you, I warned you. I said,
Morning routine, morning routine.
yeah, morning routine. Yeah, I got a lot of stories. Anyway, the one that is typical, I did this morning, for instance, is once I've got my coffee, my first cup of coffee, I set it down in here in front of the computer, and I have a journal that I've been doing for probably about 13, 14 years at this point, where I put the date on, I put a little bit of chatter, what's been going on, what's going on, just usual stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then I go into what I call downloads. I don't, it's a pretty good word for it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do is I sit, take some breaths, I tune into the guides, and typically one guide or a mass of guides, ancestors in general, an ancestral council would be one way to think of
Mm-hmm.
it, start delivering me a message or messages more accurately. And it's basically really good at, not basically, it is really good advice,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to be aware of when the ego might want to creep in, but pretty much the ego is like sitting over here, you
Okay.
know. So I'm receiving this, very directly. And one of the principles of shamanic work is direct revelation. And that's not exclusive to shamanism. I'm sure, Siri, you do this too. You get messages, you get
Mm-hmm.
assignment, you see things in the environment, synchronicities, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where things are headed. And I really want to encourage and facilitate that with my work. That is my purpose, is teaching and healing. And I think one aspect of that healing is to make that connection with the natural world, make that connection with spirit in the form of various guides that you might have developed a relationship with or become conscious of a relationship with. And I think that's absolutely critical these days, that we've got to hang our hats, so to speak, on spirit, but in a way that is a collaborative effort on the part of both the oneself, the usual self, as well as the higher self that connects with spirit. Various guides through my shamanic work have shown up. In fact, through one plant medicine journey, specifically mushrooms on a mountain, I met a teacher. I get emotional when I think about this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so grateful. I met a teacher unexpectedly. I wasn't sure. I was just starting to develop shamanism as a
Mm-hmm.
practice and as an augmentation to the work that I do. And it was becoming very central to the work, not just an augmentation. And so my buddy and I went up on the mountain, Cone Peak in Big Sur, the Ventana Wilderness
Oh,
in
Big
Big
Sur.
Sur, looking over the valley and the sky. And it was just beautiful. What a great place to have an initiation.
Mm.
And it became a shamanic initiation, into this connection with this, uh, what turned out to be, or I was told by him, that he'd been incarnated about
Mm.
25,000 years ago.
Mm.
So he had a fount of wisdom that through the various stages and the very epochs of his spiritual journey in the afterlife, he was kind of saying, no big deal. Don't get, I'll paraphrase what he said. Don't just think that like you're special because I'm working with a few people. So, but I'm here to help you out. That to put it in more common terms, that's what happened.
Yeah.
I had read and done my research, did my homework about mushrooms, psilocybin, etc. And at that time, I hadn't been doing anything like that for a long time. And
Mm-hmm.
it was no longer just seeing the walls wiggle.
Yeah. Yeah.
That wasn't what it was about. It was about to tune into what the plant medicine had to offer. And it went on for probably about 8 hours,
Mm-hmm.
throughout the night. My buddy went to sleep after 3, so I don't know. I must have gotten more of the mushrooms or something.
Mm-hmm.
He spoke to me, and I couldn't say his name for a number of years, but I can say it now. And it's in just a structure of sound. Ana Ooto is the name of the spirit guide. And I may tell you one piece of the story. Um, so Bruce and I did this prayer, did this suggestion, etc., and then and waited and looked at it. It was really pretty. The sun was going down, etc. And then there was movement that took place. And then at one point, which is not uncommon, you know, upchuck, you throw,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
what's not needed, for the
Yes,
process.
yes. The
And so
pur you purged. Uh-huh.
yeah, purged, clearing, yes, and
Yeah.
then it sounds better than the way I said it. Anyway, and so what happened is once I purged, first off, my vision changed because I could see a little altar amongst the rocks that were right before me. I'm down on my knees. And I started hearing and talking through my voice, his voice, and hearing what he had to say.
Mm-hmm. Channeling. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he basically took over my voice,
Mm-hmm.
and spoke through my voice.
Yeah.
And then the funniest, now in retrospect, one of the funniest things that happened is this hand
Mm-hmm.
dissociated from any sense of connection to my body. At one point, I would sit up from being in a what do you call it, bowing down before the altar,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I would joke with Bruce, my buddy, as this is happening, as we're coming on to the medicine. And at one point, after a couple of times doing that joking, this hand came up, took the back of my head, pushed it down, not to hit the rocks, but just
Mm-hmm.
pushed it down. So I'm back in
Mm-hmm.
it's called prostrate, position.
Okay.
And said through my voice, if I may say so very bluntly, sounded just like this, hand on top of my head. There's no fucking around with this.
Mm.
And then would stroke my forehead gently and say, "We love you," in English through my voice.
Mm-hmm.
And his name means the fierce and compassionate one. That's been consciously my guide, or one of my primary guides, or the primary guide since then. This was years ago, a few years ago, again, when I was introduced to shamanism.
Wow.
I wouldn't necessarily advise that's the best way to go. I'm just saying this is what I was called.
Yeah.
Obviously, in respect, I was called to do it this way. And I think it's probably because I can really have a hard head. Sometimes like, come on, do you really mean that? Yeah, let's
Yeah.
knock him on the head a couple of times. No, not to kill him, but let's knock him on the head a couple of times, wake him up, and I gotta say, it was a life-changing experience and led me into go deeper and deeper into shamanic, what you could call shamanic realities. And that's just my life now, just the way it is.
Okay. So I think some people have certain ideas of what shamanic means. And I'd just like to know from you, what does this mean?
But it comes out of Mongolia, actually, the origination of it, the word itself and the term, typically is translated as one who sees or one who knows. Okay, that's pretty simple, and straightforward. Every culture, every indigenous culture, even ours, us white folks, whatever our particular ethnicity is, somewhere in the past, in our connection to our lineage, ancestral lineage, maybe several generations ago, there was someone in the community, someone in the tribe that had access to guidance from the spiritual realm that would serve the community, serve the tribe, whether it was an individual coming to the shaman, or it was for the community to do a ceremony, to do something at the solstice, as a community, to do something to honor the shifts and the changes, the seasonal. And so typically they were inspired. That's a really good word, which means breathe spirit in. They
Mm,
were inspired through their connection with the various spirit guides that they worked with. So it's in one sense, it's just a word. But
mhm,
the implication these days in contemporary shamanism is that, oh, we can learn from the ancestors, what has been brought forward for us to be able to utilize and to use for healing purposes, for acknowledgement, for maintaining that connection to spirit through these various ordinarily non-visible beings that we can make connection with. It doesn't mean there's no such thing as to be ambitious about being a shaman. It
mhm,
is a calling.
mhm,
I myself, though people will call me shaman, I almost like what my body's doing is I
mhm.
consider myself to be a shamanic practitioner,
Yeah.
which means I have studied, I've learned, I've been in ceremony, etc., in various ways. And that feels right. Yeah, that feels right. Practitioner. And
Yes.
if I put,
You're practicing the
yeah,
teachings.
yeah,
Doesn't
and
have to define who we are if we
it's
have
direct
that calling.
revelation. Yeah, it's receiving that input from the spirit guides. And again, you don't have to be interested in shamanism to do that. That's not the point. But specifically, it's also about bringing healing to the world in some way, one person at a time, oneself, a group, a community, etc., through writings, books, oracle cards, etc., that I've managed to.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up because I've been using your deck. I'm holding it up.
Yeah.
Power Animal Oracle cards. I mean, gosh, I don't know. For a long, maybe at least a decade, I've been
Cool.
using this deck and I love it. And now, if anyone ever mentions an animal in anything I'm doing, whether it's Akashic record readings a lot of times or
Yeah.
it's, coaching, guidance, what have you, someone's talking about a dream. I have been referencing this, and you talked in one of your podcast episodes
Great.
about the hummingbird. I love this one, lighten up. You were
Yeah.
trying to help me do earlier, like making me laugh there. I mean, so how did you come up with this? I'm guessing you channeled it. And also, I'm going to pull a card and it says wolf. It says guardian, you are safe and protected at all times.
You just pulled that down.
I just pulled it now.
Great. Well, I know you're the interviewer, but I'm going to throw it back to you. What does it mean to you to pull that card right now? Just anything, any hit that you get, because I know you're tuned in also.
Yeah, I needed that message
Okay.
to know I'm safe and protected at all times because you know, I have a lot of ongoing kind of insistent fear that is not always my own, but definitely I'll pick up and it's not real. It doesn't, you know, it's not helpful. It's not serving anyone. And I think we all, I mean, really, one of the biggest parts of my mission as a practitioner of breathwork, Akashic, Reiki, these modalities is really to help people to feel safe, to help them regulate their nervous system so that they can feel safe. And not only so that they can like function in their day or just find peace or be happier or expand their capacity to feel good, but also our ability to be abundant in life is directly correlated to our ability to feel safe. Like how much we're able to receive anything is directly correlated to, am I feeling safe in my body? So I think this you are safe is big.
I hear it. I hear it. Thank you, Siri, for doing that. No, it's lovely and it makes sense. And um, like if you are a client, and that's not the situation here, I understand that. But then I might offer, what does it conjure up, for me? What's the message? Or you could say channeling, or, what I'm tuned in and what am I receiving, what I see, hear, feel. Because it can be, the messages can come in any combination of those, any one or any combination of those.
Yes.
And I get a slight wiggle of emotion in my body. Again, feel sensations, not necessarily emotions, but sensations, and then the emotions that might be associated with that. And what I'm feeling right now is appreciation because wolf spirit has been with me as a power animal, which is a particular kind of spirit animal that typically shamanic practitioners and shamans will have, a couple of them hanging around, so to speak, to help them out. And Wolf has been with me and has been an absolutely amazing protector in so many ways. And I continually thank, along with other spirit guides, but Wolf Spirit for that. Uh, and okay, as I breathe and a sensation kind of goes through my body, I also hear instinct, the word,
Wolf instinct. Yeah.
to really heed your instinct. And from an earlier message I got from the journaling that I do, is today is really about hearing, a lot about hearing. And there's one example of it, but not just hearing the words, the sounds, etc., but get this, and I don't quite know what this means yet, so we'll see how the day produces it, but also to feel the vibration, the
Mhm.
vibratory quality of the sound that I hear. I
Mm.
hear the wind, wiggling oh, there's a hand that just went up. Oh, okay, got it. Oh, Zoom. Anyway, I hear the sound of the window shaking. I hear the sound of your laughter, your voice, etc., just to pay attention to those things. And I know I went off on a trajectory just then
I love it.
from war.
Keep going.
That's what I do, Siri. It's just the way, like I say, I got tons of stories. But more importantly is, if I may be so bold to say this, is I think it's really important right now for you to um, continue to thank Wolf as a way of calling on him. Thank you, Wolf, for your protection. Thank you, Wolf, for helping me feel safe, throughout the day and on into the days to come. I don't know why. I don't even question it, but I pass that along. And again, Siri, you can do with that what you want.
Oh, I will take that and I will run with that.
Yeah, I
Yes.
believe you will. Yeah, I believe you will. And I have another, if it's all right. Is this okay?
Yeah, yeah.
From a fairly new deck, Messages from the uh, Spirits of Nature. And I work with this one a lot these days. I've got all of them out here, and I'll call on whatever one calls to me. And this
Okay.
one called to me. So let's see. Thank you, Spirits of Nature. Thank you for any message that comes through that is clear for both of us and for anyone listening to this event, this podcast, that it will be valuable and helpful in some very specific ways. And my body relaxes. Let's see if this works. Okay, I'm going to show this one. It's stars.
Mm.
And typically there's a key word with each of these, and this one is navigation. And what, just anything jump out at you? If not, it's okay, but
I was thinking of a compass, and I was thinking of this other deck that I have, and that how the compass is about grandfather energy. And so I was thinking about how, in, for example, the Lion King movie story, the lion looks to the stars to see his father and to
excellent.
get that guidance from father energy. And so
Yes,
that can become a navigation of that kind of father sky guidance.
good. I like it. I like it. Here, another sort of collaborative synchronicity just took place.
Okay.
When I do my morning sacred ritual, again, I'll just chat, this is what's going on, blah, 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 blah. And then I'll call on various beings. And one I often call on is I just call the teacher,
Okay.
T. Yesterday, again, I get a wiggle of emotion when I say this. The message that came in was the one that said he was a grandfather ancestor, not, you know, capital G, not just grandpa, but a grandfather ancestor. He's never said that before. And here you go saying grandfather, comes in again. It's this weaving. I love that term weaving, the
Yeah.
galactic weaving that takes place. So thank you for that.
It's just divine timing, isn't it? Like, I saw your Oracle deck. I looked over and I went, I need to ask him if I can interview him. And then you said yes.
Sure. Oh, I love spreading the word, and thank you for the work that you're doing, for bringing others as well as myself, but others into the frame, and I trust providing inspiration. That's a start. Inspiration.
Oh my gosh, thank you for the work that you do, which is so prolific. I mean, we haven't even talked about like the fact that you're a licensed psychotherapist. Is that something that I'm imagining informs all of your work to this day? How is that woven into the present moment for you?
Good question. Um, Siri, there was a period I went through very, very close to the time of my initiation on the mountain with the plant medicine, where I was so caught by shamanism, and I mean that in the best sense of the word, that eventually I closed my practice, my psychotherapy practice, and really focused on doing shamanic healing. And I think it was necessary
Mhm.
that I had to do this, and I trusted completely to do this. And I was still getting, uh, some good food, and I was healthy and all that. So it served, I think, to really install that ancient wisdom, that ancient healing wisdom, and different ways to approach it, as I had been taught and trained in by a few different teachers that I experienced. It was necessary to do so. Then at some point, it wasn't like a sudden revelation, but I went, wait a minute. There's some tools and some trainings that I've had. And then I also picked up some
Mhm.
that are just exceptional.
Mhm.
Example, what you read, EMDR, the eye movement, it's a great tool for helping someone recover from PTSD.
Yeah.
And one that was absolutely brilliant was I'm certified in something called somatic experiencing, which was a 3-year training. And that one just, I went out of there and I went, got it. I
Mhm.
understand trauma from several perspectives, but,
Right.
but particularly it lives in the body.
Yes.
And
You
there are ways,
understand trauma from the head space, but you understand it in an embodied from the somatic space. So you've got all the full dynamic aspect understanding of it. Yeah.
yeah, yes. And I'm just in the midst of reading a fascinating book. Peter Levine is the founder of somatic experiencing. And he wrote, this is a book I came across, was Waking the Tiger.
Okay.
So that was the first idea that, oh, there's still stuff going on in the body, whatever you may intellectually think about it. And there are other tools too, don't get me wrong, but I find this is exceptional. Somatic experiencing, EMDR has been very effective. And if I might add, another option is
Hmm.
something called soul retrieval.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah.
In a fairly common shamanic healing practice, is the practitioner works with his or her guides. I'm going to say his just for
Hmm.
simplicity. Works with his guides. Let's say you come to me and you're troubled by this, that, or whatever. And so then what I do is I do a journey, a shamanic journey, which means basically I go to non-ordinary reality. And there I meet up with my guides and say, what's the deal? What can I do to help Siri?
Hmm.
And what I'm instructed to do is she lost a fragment or a piece of her soul a few years ago. And we'll just not get into like exemplifying because I might be picking up on something. I don't know. But anyway, a few years ago,
You can,
and
I give you permission, whatever you want to pick up
you are
on.
very open. I so respect you for that and really like that about you already. We were both open like right at the front end, talking about what some people call drugs, which they're not mind altering substances, let's put it that way. So anyway, so you come in and okay, I don't know, I don't know, even as a therapist, I don't know, what soul
Yes.
and what
Yes.
soul fragment. It's not that you lose your soul. It's like a part of you chips off. In
Hmm.
psychology, psychotherapy, it might be called dissociation.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Psychologically, there's something to that. But at another level or another perspective it's the loss of a part of you, a part of your soul specifically. So my job then is to go through a ceremony as a shaman to do a shamanic journey, ask my guides, take me to that soul piece that most needs to be returned.
Hmm.
And they do that. They
Can
take
I
me
can
right
I
past.
pause you for 1 second to just interject that if you go to my website, it says, "Come home to the soul that you are." And also that is one of the most consistent pieces of my work is having people through the grounding and running energy exercise that I do before every single thing I practice is calling back whatever's yours. That's what you've mastered, energy that's yours, that the energies you've mastered, anything that's like your power, basically
And left behind.
calling it
Yeah.
back and then reintegrating it. So this is absolutely perfect what you're saying.
Very soon,
Sorry to interrupt you.
very much a parallel with what we're talking about here.
Yes.
And yeah, we give up our power along the way. We do it out of necessity.
Mm.
We adapt to childhood um, abuse or trauma
Mhm.
without even consciously thinking about it. We just adapt. We make those adaptations so that we can survive. Duh. Yeah, that's what we do. And then the next step is, okay, how do we bring what these missing aspects to ourselves back?
Yeah, so
And
you were out there. You were out there and I interrupted you and you were saying there's this piece and you were so
yeah,
beautifully talking about it.
yeah, and often child piece. And so what I example might come across is a child piece that decided to stay out in the forest because she could frolic in the woods. And that was one of the loves of and joys of her life. And that she could actually commune with the animals that were in the woods and had a guardian, even, that took care of her while she was in the woods after she had split off because of a divorce.
Mm,
And she felt the loss. Boy, I feel the wiggle of that, the sadness.
mm,
Because of that, she didn't feel safe. And so she took a part of herself or set aside a part of herself or that part split off so that she could feel safe.
yeah.
So I negotiate with her. I talk to her and what's going on, and then I get the story. And I say, okay, well, I'd like you to come back. And so typically there's implements that the practitioner has that in my instance, it would be inviting her back. And once I get agreement, she will say, well, here's what I want Siri to do, though. Once I,
She has to make it safe for me to come back.
and also, yeah, validate that you are welcoming her.
Yeah.
In simple things, often with children, child parts. I want to go, we used to swing a lot. We'd go on the swing. So I want to go to the playground with her
Right,
and
right.
swing. The action of doing so helps again integrate her.
Hmm.
It helps her integrate with your overall soul. And
Hmm.
then typically there's a crystal I have. It's not formed, which is the beauty of it. It's very, very not quite shaped or formed into something like this one. That's very formed.
Mm-mm.
But I take that soul fragment uh, once we've agreed into the crystal, and then I come back, and then what I do, and I've done this remotely as well, which is a whole setup I won't go into. It's not important. But if the individual's here, let's say you're sitting here where I am, I would then blow that part into the top of your head and then into your heart. And I would look in your eyes, especially your left eye, which is your soul side,
Hmm.
till I get a hit. She's there. And I would just say, welcome back.
Yeah. Oh
Now
my
that's kind of a
gosh.
condensed pattern that follow with soul retrievals. And things start changing for the individual. Things start shifting. That's the beauty. In other words, I'm Capricorn, by the way. That's why I said, oh, Virgo. All right.
Oh, I mean, I've got the Capricorns all around me. So
I
you're
bet you
you're you're
do.
just one more. A
I
very
bet.
special one.
Yeah, I got two daughters, Capricorn and a Virgo.
Okay.
We do well together, except the oldest daughter. We're both Capricorns sometimes.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, um, so that's a synopsis of what happens in soul retrieval. There's other treatments, other healing modalities, ceremonies, etc., that can be facilitated by the shamanic practitioner. So,
How? Yeah.
no, that's all. Just so I weave that with the therapy process. It may be more about somatic experiencing, about working with, trauma recovery in a different way. Just depends on what the client needs.
Got it. And so how important is it important with being shamanic and with working with power animals, like how important is it to be outside? How important is it to not be on technology? How much do you recommend we be outside? Are like how does the outdoors inform your work and do you have a point of view about how much time we need to be spending in the outside?
24/7 ideally, but I don't
Okay.
think that's very practical. To me, Siri, what it's about is um, I have the good fortune. I moved to Oregon not too long ago, a few months ago, and
Where in
uh,
Oregon are you?
Ashland.
Okay, okay, because
Where-
I'm in Camas, Washington, which is 20 minutes outside of Portland, Oregon. So
Oh,
I'm right near the Portland airport.
well, you're pretty close. You're about five,
Yeah.
6 away. Yeah, Portland is, I think, about a 5-hour drive. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, maybe we can meet halfway sometime. That would be cool. Um, anyway, yeah, and I'm just getting acquainted with Oregon, the beauty,
Oh,
the
it's so
elegance.
amazing here.
Did you grow up here or did you?
No, I grew up in Vermont and New York,
Oh,
spent
okay.
most of my life in LA, and then we came here at the beginning of the pandemic.
Ah, okay. Right at the front end of the pandemic. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was boy, that was a crazy time. No, I'm drifting. I don't want to drift. I need to stay focused. But anyway, um,
I think we're all still recovering from that period of time. So from 2020 until now, we're still in recovery, I think. I think we're all collectively still shedding the trauma of whatever that was for each person. And also, it was life-changing in beautiful ways. It was a reset for so many of us that really boiled down like, what is the priority here? Like, let's get really simple to like, what do you actually care about? I think that's what it did for most people.
oh, yeah,
And I
yeah,
think a lot of people like realigned into family life and outdoor life.
and there was also a resultant divisiveness, that occurred.
Yes, yes.
The pressures that were there of things that to some degree made sense, the masking, the vaccinations, etc. But we're also seeing,
It's hard to make
unfortunately,
sense of a
something.
lot of it. It really
Yeah,
is.
that it was such there was such pressure.
Yes.
I never got vaccinated, and I'm
Mm.
fine with that. I'm really okay with that.
Hmm.
But again, as you can imagine, making that choice created some
Yes.
challenges, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think we're past that part, I think. But I like what you had to say is, yeah, we're still sorting through things. Now, add to that, and I go back to your question about being outdoors, being out
Yeah.
in nature too.
Yeah.
Yeah, get your rear end out there, as much as you possibly can. Take your socks and shoes off if it's warm enough, and it's summer in the northern hemisphere and
Hmm.
quite warm in the northern hemisphere in certain parts. And a lot of times humans get blamed, for this. There's some truth in that, but I see the shifts and changes in the planet as being a natural evolution of the planet, just like the evolution that has occurred for 4.5 billion years. It's changed. The ecology has changed. I do think that we need to do what we can, but I'm under no illusion, not the objective of saving the planet. I think it's more that we establish a clear connection to all beings on this planet, that we don't just have a philosophy, a mental philosophy, but an experience of even moments. At least I know for me, it's like moments where I just get it. And I
Hmm.
don't need a lot of thought about it. I just get this body rush like I did just now, got a little, my fur stood up a little bit there. That I can look out these windows that are just beyond the computer, and I'm in the midst of a forest, sort of,
Hmm.
a lot
Hmm.
of trees.
Hmm.
Or as a friend of mine, Eva Blacktail Swan calls them the standing ones. She's a Cherokee healer.
Hmm.
And I
Beautiful.
like that idea, the standing ones, the elders, the ancestors. The ancestors are knocking at the door to get our attention. And
Hmm.
that's something that I know that's an aspect of my purpose. One aspect is that mission to pay attention to the ancestors. They are trying to reach us. They're trying to show us how we can make some adjustments, in our relationship with the natural world. What's one way to start that is get outside more.
Hmm.
Put your feet, take your socks and shoes off if you can, put your feet in the dirt.
Yeah.
And there's a line in one of my songs about that. You know, I'm out here. I can see the rainbow in the garden. I got my feet in the dirt. You know, everything's fine. You know, even though the rainbow is ordinarily invisible. Anyway, that's a bit of a tangent, but
Yeah,
that's
beautiful.
that's my response to your question about it. Yeah, the natural world, we've lost that affinity. We've lost that relationship. And the good news is we are regaining it. We're teaching the children, you know, about that. They're the ones that are going to have to carry on, you know.
Yes, there's this struggle between technology and just being with listening to the standing ones, listening to the earth, listening to spirit, listening to soul,
Yeah,
and how can we marry those? Because I don't think it's about trying to we're not going to get rid of technology. We're not going to get rid of social media. I think it's an integral part of what we're doing here. I'm so scared about AI, but I feel good that today, speaking of just being in this moment, my kids are out at the lake and they're in summer camp where they are outside all day long. And that makes me feel so good.
yeah, I understand. Yeah. Oh, I remember those days when I was little, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We would walk down to Prairie Creek. It wasn't creek, it was Prairie Creek.
Uh-huh.
You know, and play in the water and do stones. And there was a park in the backyard. We'd climb over the fence because our property backed up against the fence that led to this beautiful park that had once been a cornfield. So,
Mm.
yes, I think that's great that you have your children in situations like that so they can learn, you know, about the natural world.
As
Learn
soon
how
as
to,
they get out there, they just start playing immediately. They start turning things into instruments. They
right.
start building forts. They're
Yep.
immediately engaging with nature and learning.
Yeah, I remember even, you know, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, when we'd have a big snowstorm and we had out the backyard, there was an embankment and the snow would pile up into a snowdrift there. And I'd go out there, usually with a friend, I'd go out there and we'd dig through it so that we'd have this little tunnel in the
Hmm.
snowdrift and we'd be able to go there. It was warm, you know, really
Like
comfortable
an
in there.
igloo, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
like an
cool.
igloo. It was, oh, okay. But not an intellectual relationship so much as an experiential relationship like your children are having now. You know, the creativity that just naturally springs forward, you know,
Yeah.
when exposed to the situation or circumstances where that's a possibility versus being confined, you know, in confined to technology. I think that's the difference is like I think I notice a lot is let me show you this. You know what that's doing to your neck?
Mm.
Bearing down all the time like this,
Mm.
posture.
Mm-hmm.
And then I
Mm-hmm.
see, you know, I'm trying to think if I'm guilty of this as well. I don't think so. But people walking with their phones, you know, they're not engaged.
Oh, yes, yes,
You know,
yes.
it's just
Yes.
that's just the way things are these days. And there's no real judgment. It's just observation that
Oh, I'm,
get caught up in it.
do I call you Dr. Steven? Do I call you Steven?
Steven's fine. Thanks for asking. Yeah. Or the one I like to say is His Royal Highness. That'll do too.
Okay, okay. I am totally addicted to my phone. That's why I bring it up, because I'm completely addicted. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I couldn't locate my phone the other day, and I don't want to tell a whole long story with it, but it's just like obsessed for 2.5 hours. Where did my phone go?
You feel naked without it, or is that just me? You just
Um,
needed it in that moment.
I feel like an addict that can't find its
Yes.
fix. You know, where did I put the
Yes.
cocaine? You know, I mean,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
God.
Like you said, addicted. We get addicted to it, but it's become a necessary. Let me qualify that. nearly necessary vehicle for us. I
Yeah.
was going, how do I, oh, wait, oh, wait, I need my phone to do this.
It's so wild.
So I found, oh, I got one other coda to that is, so I checked with Raven Spirit. Raven
Okay.
Spirit is one of my power animals. And in addition to other things, being a protector and guide, he also is what I call the finder spirit. I mean, I told a friend of mine this, that I ask Raven and thank him when I lose something.
Okay, I got it here.
Oh, okay, good, good. What's it say?
Magic, own your power.
Yeah, yeah,
Trying to keep yourself little by denying your power so you won't be a threat to anyone merely keeps you in a false bubble of safety.
right. We're almost out of time, I see, but I was going to,
Yes, we are. Yeah, but I mean,
well,
we
let
could
me tell
talk for
you,
hours. Yeah.
the end of that story briefly is I heard Raven say, because I often get my messages in that inner voice, look closely. I'm going, I've been looking all over the friggin' place. I've got a EV, a Tesla out in the garage. And the Tesla, whenever I'd come close to it and punch the thing, it would open up. And wait, you can't open up without the phone. You know, so the phone's got to be really close by, right? And a
Oh
friend
my
looked,
God.
no, 50-foot radius for Bluetooth. Oh, okay. But where did I put it? Look closely. Okay, so I got distracted with another search and I went over to the fireplace and there's some shelves on the fireplace and I got some DVDs, old DVD. Remember those DVDs?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I had some there, some home movies
Oh,
and
I
stuff.
was just watching Field of Dreams on VHS.
Oh, one of the best, one of the
Because
best.
when you said cornfield, I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah, out
they
in the
cut
corn.
down the cornfield to make that playground for you.
Interesting. Again, weaving in
Yeah.
the cornfield.
But
But
the Raven.
anyway, so I finally I went, okay, this is driving me crazy. He says, look closer. Wait, can you give me a little more information? No. Nothing, Well, okay, all right, look more closely. What had happened is I had taken a stack of these DVDs, a few of them that I pulled out because I want to watch my perform. I was in a community theater production one time, Wizard of Oz. I was the Tin Man, and it's all
Okay.
recorded. So I wanted to see that. It's been kind of a. But I go, God, where would it be? And I go, oh well, I might as well pull out the DVDs. I go to the place where the DVDs are, and sitting on the shelf just above eye level, guess what?
Your phone.
My phone that I'd put there because I was looking through the DVDs. So had not looked closely. And it was a little too abstract. Like, tell me exactly. I go by the DVDs. I like it when they're like this, the messages. We don't
Well,
want
at
getting
least
this.
it wasn't like literally in your hand and you're looking for it, which is what
Thank
has
you. That's
happened to me, is I will be holding something and looking for
yeah,
it at the same time. That's
yeah.
not that's disassociation and disembodiment right there.
I confess, I've been there, done that. Yeah, uh,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
know that.
Well, this was so fun, and I feel like we could go off on 100 tangents because when I started, researching about you, I was like, oh my gosh, we could have 1,000 conversations. There's just so much wisdom that you have. There's so much that you've done. There's so much that you provide as a service. Do you happen to know if you're a manifesting generator in human design? Do you know that yet?
I did something with that years ago, human design, but I don't
Okay,
have the.
I'm gonna have to give you a human design little chart.
Oh,
I'll send that
I
to you.
would love it. I would love
Okay,
it.
all
If you're
right.
willing to do that.
Well, you seem like in human design a manifesting generator because you've got all of these different ways of serving that excite you. Same as me. So
Yeah, yeah.
whatever
And
that's worth.
thank you. Yeah, no, I'd be very welcome, very much welcome. I don't want to obligate to you, but thank you for the offer. And yes, I'd very much welcome it. I've been working on an article very briefly in the SSP, Shamanic Society for Shamanic Practice. I wrote an article. We're into this like creative burst, article, Creativity and Shamanism. And now another article I'm writing is about finding your muse.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And specifically the Greek. I'm going to go through the Greek mythology about where that comes from, etc., and how do you find your muse both here in ordinary reality and what about non-ordinary reality. And I could see how you would be a muse to many people. Yeah,
I love that. That's so flattering. I find muses to be, I have found them to be very important for me.
yeah.
And I kind of lost a muse recently and then haven't really, it's like there's a danger. That's a different podcast episode to muses because it's something outside of yourself. But maybe having a muse like a wolf or a raven, but that's more of a guide, not a muse, right? Could you use that as a muse?
I I want to what I'm trying to do it, to make it clear in the article
Yes,
is
yes,
I want to segregate what muse means,
yes. Okay.
which means it's human being, whether one that's here or one that's in non-ordinary, like Ana Oto is a muse. It could be argued that, other things are muses too, but as I read something in my research, anything can be an inspiration for
Yeah.
the creative process.
Yes.
And it's 4 steps to the creative process. It's so simple. Here goes the 4's again. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Inspiration. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever inspires you, a beautiful sunset, looking up at the tree,
Yes.
your child sleeping, so
Yes.
peacefully. There's so many, but not necessarily, they aren't necessarily muses.
Mm. Like inspirational sparks to ignite you.
That's what I use can be someone in ordinary, like an ancestor, that grandmother, that adored you, example. And also would get you paint sets, would
Mm.
help you with anyway, you get the idea. Or
Yeah.
an ordinary reality, Anaoto is a muse. And the Greek mythology is fascinating. 9 muses birthed from Zeus and another another goddess is fascinating. Each one had a different task to, but you don't need to align with that. It's now like, okay, now who is your muse? I have a friend lives down in near San Francisco,
Mm-hmm.
and she and I have these incredible conversations. And she is my muse. She's my human muse. Anaoto is my um, spiritual muse, if you will. But the idea is we can be inspired by anybody. Wolf spirit can inspire you. The conversation we're having could inspire you.
Yes. Yes.
That's
Yes.
a possibility. Anyway, we just
I find inspiration in this conversation, in all the things you mentioned, and I'm inspired by your, sharing with me about the soul retrieval and using the wolf as a guide, all of this. I mean, I can't wait to listen back to this. And as you guys are listening to this conversation, I invite you to inquire within your soul of like what that muse would be for you. And Dr. Steven, I'm going to call you that. Do you have any invitations of our audience here as well?
invitations.
Yeah, like soul assignments or love
Oh,
assignment
yeah,
or
yeah. Go out somewhere and find a tree that finds you, or another way to say that, there's a tree out there that will call to you. You go with that intention. Go and sit by the tree. Nothing really so-called spiritual. Just have a conversation with the tree. Use your active imagination that this living being that's composed of an entirely different set of substances than you, but it's a living being and has a story to tell you. So go out and have a conversation with the tree. I borrowed that from a colleague, Sandra Ingerman, and I liked it. She said, go out, don't try to get a message. You can do that too, if you want to try that, gang. But just go out and sit by a tree for a few minutes, have a conversation, breathe, Put your backbone against the tree. Feel the tree breathe with you.
Mm,
Active imagination. That's what it takes to do this kind of work. And any shamanic work requires, in fact, the 4 steps of any creative process: inspiration, imagination, actualization, and manifestation. 4 steps. Starts with inspiration. So that conversation may inspire you to do something else. Simple.
amazing. Amazing. Well, let's end there. This has been so filled with wisdom. Thank you so much for your wisdom. Thank you so much for your heart. Thank you so much for your time and those sprinklings of guidance and inspiration for me and for the people listening. This was so much fun. I love doing this, and I can't wait to see, what conversations we have next. So thank you.
Great. You're welcome. Plus, I made you laugh, Siri.
You did.
I read something a while back said, if I can make someone laugh or smile, it's been a great day. So thank you for the great day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bless
I'm gonna
you.
keep loving this deck of cards. It is well loved. Yes. And the new one I have to get too. All right. Bye guys. Bye for now.